Efunsetan Aniwura, the ancient wicked woman of Ibadan land. Long ago, in the heart of Ibadan land, there lived a woman whose name made even the bravest warriors tremble. Her name was Efunsetan Aniwura, the Iyalode of Ibadan. She was a woman of great wealth, power, and influence. She was a chief in the palace of the king, and her voice carried weight in every corner of the kingdom. But her heart was not soft. Her heart was iron, and her face was filled with pride. So much was her cruelty that the king himself called her to the palace one day. "Efunsetan," the king said, his voice firm, "your anger is too much, your wickedness too heavy. Stay in your home. Do not bring your troubles into my palace again." Efunsetan bowed her head, but inside, her heart was unbending. She left the palace that day more determined than ever to rule her household with an iron hand. The cruel rule of Efunsetan owned many slaves. She made them work from morning till night without rest. But her most fearful rule was this: no slave must ever give birth to a child in my house. If any man or woman dares to break this law, they will be put to death. The slaves lived in fear. They whispered among themselves, but no one dared to disobey, for everyone knew Efunsetan's words were sharper than a sword. A forbidden love, but love is like the wind, it cannot be stopped. Among the slaves was a young man named Iyalode, strong and gentle. He fell in love with a beautiful slave woman named Iyalode, whose smile brought light to his weary days. One night, under the moon, they whispered promises of love. Days turned to weeks, and soon Iyalode discovered she was with child. When news of this reached Efunsetan, her rage shook the ground. "What, Iyalode and Iyalode," she thundered. "They have broken my law. Both of them shall die. Pleas for mercy." The chiefs of Ibadan heard of her cruel judgment and rushed to her house. Even the king sent messengers to beg her. "Iyalode," they pleaded, bowing low, "forgive them. They are young. Let them live." But Efunsetan's heart was of stone. Her eyes were cold. "No one breaks my law and lives," she said. "Their fate is sealed." The poisoned meal. Desperate, Iyalode made a plan. He whispered to another slave and gave him a powder. "Put this in her food," he said. "It will end her wickedness." But Efunsetan was no ordinary woman. She was deep in witchcraft, and her eyes saw what others could not. When the food was placed before her, she smiled darkly. "There is poison here," she said. "You too, eat it instead." And so, Iyalode and the slave were forced to taste their own trap. They fell to the ground, lifeless. The others watched in silence, fear burning in their hearts. The war of Ibadan, the king could no longer endure her wickedness. He gathered his chiefs and warriors. Drums of war echoed across Ibadan as they marched against Efunsetan, but she was ready. Standing on a high ground, with charms and spells in her hands, she called upon her powers. Darkness covered the sky. Many warriors fell in confusion. Some chiefs lost courage and fled. Still, the king stood strong. With courage and prayer, he lifted his sacred staff. Light shone across the battlefield. Slowly, Efunsetan's powers weakened. The warriors pressed forward. At last, she was captured and bound. The pride of Efunsetan, she was brought before the king. The people gathered, whispering among themselves. "From today," the king declared, "you are no longer Iyalode. You shall be a slave as you made others suffer." The crowd gasped, for the mighty had fallen. But Efunsetan's pride was greater than chains. Slowly, she reached into her inner dress and brought out a small calabash of poison. She lifted it high. "I will never be a slave," she cried. "When I reach God, we shall speak of all this. Let him judge between us." Before anyone could stop her, she drank the poison. Her eyes closed and she fell to the ground. The end of Efunsetan, and so ended the life of Efunsetan Aniwura, the woman feared by all. She died with no child to call her own, her riches and power left behind. In Ibadan, her story was told for generations, and every time it was told, elders reminded the young, power without kindness leads only to sorrow. Pride brings destruction, but love and mercy build a nation. Moral of the story: Efunsetan Aniwura teaches us that no matter how powerful a person is, wickedness cannot last forever. Love and kindness always win in the end.